Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are getting into a modern classic. Ben Horowitz is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. This is not your typical business book. It's a raw, honest guide for leaders when, well, everything is on the line. Right off the bat, Ben Horowitz throws you a curveball. He doesn't start with some quote from a famous CEO. Nope. He kicks things off with a lyric from Kanye West. And you have to ask, why? It's because he wants to immediately yank you out of the classroom and into the street. This book isn't about theory, it's about the messy, unpredictable real world. So what exactly is this hard thing he keeps talking about? Well, think of it as any problem where there's no playbook. It's that sinking feeling when you realize you can't just Google the answer. Business school case studies, they're all neat and tidy. The hard thing is when you're staring down a problem that is uniquely yours, right here, right now. Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit more, because Horowitz builds his entire philosophy on one really important distinction. What really separates the easy stuff from the hard stuff? This right here is the key. Most business books are great at teaching you how to set big, inspiring goals. And that's fine. But what happens when you miss those goals? What happens when you have to lay off the very people who worked their tails off for you? That's when those other books become useless. And that right there is a hard thing. And here's the thing about these hard things. They don't just pop up one at a time. Oh no. They build on each other, they pile up until they create this relentless, crushing psychological state that Horowitz calls the struggle. The struggle isn't just a bad day at the office. It's not just a tough quarter. It is a constant, gut-wrenching pressure. It's when the weight of your company's survival feels like it is physically sitting on your chest. And all you can think is, I just want this to be over. And this just perfectly captures the deep isolation of being a leader. You can be in a room full of people, your team, your investors, your advisors. But when it's time to make that final, terrifying call that could save or sink the whole company, you are completely, utterly alone with that burden. Now, let's be really clear about something. The struggle itself isn't failure, but it's the environment where failure happens, especially if you let that pressure break you. It doesn't care if you're a good person. It doesn't care how hard you're working. It has no mercy. It just is. So, if the struggle is basically inevitable for anyone trying to do something big, how in the world do you lead when you're right in the middle of that fire? Well, Horowitz gives some incredibly practical and sometimes, pretty brutal advice. And this is one of his most critical ideas, the difference between being a peacetime CEO and a wartime CEO. See, in peacetime, when things are good, you can focus on creativity, empowerment, getting everyone to agree. But in wartime, when your company's very survival is on the line, the only thing that matters is winning the war. You have to shift from being a collaborator to being a commander. And knowing which mode you need to be in, that's everything. Now, you might think a wartime leader needs to be this big, rah-rah motivational speaker, always positive. Horowitz says that's the absolute worst thing you can do. He calls it blowing sunshine. Your team is smart. They know when things are bad. The absolute fastest way to lose all their trust is to stand up and pretend everything's okay. So how do you get that raw, unfiltered honesty? He swears by a very disciplined approach to one-on-ones. The rule is simple. The meeting is 100% for the employee. The manager's job is to talk 10% of the time and listen 90% of the time. And these questions, they are designed to pull out the truth, even the uncomfortable parts. Okay, this brings us to what might be the most powerful and honestly the most liberating idea in the entire book. Horowitz argues that there is no perfect mold for a great leader. And in fact, trying to force yourself into one is a surefire way to fail. And this is so personal for him. I mean, think about it. Horowitz realized that his unconventional background, growing up in Berkeley, his love for hip-hop, all the stuff that made him different from his peers with their shiny Stanford MBAs, that wasn't a liability. It was his superpower. It gave him ways of seeing the world that they just couldn't. And this right here, this just brings the whole philosophy home. This quote was apparently on his grandfather's tombstone. This isn't some nugget of wisdom he picked up in a boardroom. This was passed down through his family. It's the core belief that struggle isn't some unfortunate detour. It's the very fabric of life itself, and especially of building something that matters. So the ultimate takeaway here isn't some secret trick to make the hard things easy. They're never going to be easy. The lesson is that real strength isn't found in avoiding the tough stuff. It's found by leaning right into the struggle with everything you've got: your background, your instincts, and yeah, even your weirdness. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question straight from the heart of Horowitz's philosophy. What's the unique part of your story? The part that doesn't quite fit the standard mold. Because according to him, that's not your weakness. That is the source of your greatest, most unbeatable strength.